Communications. We're a PR and marketing firm in the Boston area. We'll just jump right into it this afternoon and just get things going. So our first panel of the afternoon is Reshaping the Payment Landscape, the Rise of Contactless Payments, Digital Wallets, and RTP towards a cashless and cardless economy. And I'll be curious to see, considering some of the stuff that we heard this morning, how that kind of plays into what we'll be talking about here right now. So I'm gonna welcome the moderator for this panel, which is Rich Napoli. He's a CEO Emeritus, right? Is that how you say that? I always forget how to say that word.
Way to say I'm retired.
Yeah, there you go.
Polite way of saying
we
I'm
were
retired
talking
and old.
about that. Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit yesterday. So Rich is here. Used to be helped found Relevance, and he's here to moderate this panel. So I will let Rich take it away. Thanks.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much. Well, it's good to see you all here, and I know you just had lunch, so you're probably ready for your nap. This would be my nap time, so I'm really stretching myself to be out here. But they grabbed me off the rocking chair to come help out here, and happy to be here. What we want to do is to try to take a look. We've been hearing so much, right, about all the various payment types. I mean, the gentleman this morning was talking about Diners Club. I'm old enough I remember when my dad got his Diners Club card in like 1960, and he was so excited. And we went to all the restaurants that Diners Club supported. There's only like 25 restaurants in New York that supported it. And we went there. We were not a rich family, but we went to all those restaurants just so he could use his card. And he was so proud of it. So obviously things have changed tremendously since then, right? And we've been hearing about all the things, today, contactless payments and soft POS and embedded payments and real-time payments and peer-to-peer payments. There's so much going on in the industry. What we want to try to do is to try to gauge the impact of that. Where's that going to take us? First, and we have a great panel, so I'll introduce in a second, to look at their individual situations in their companies, what's going on with these technologies in their companies, what are the barriers, what are the benefits, and then rise up a bit and look at the macro level. What does this mean for us as consumers, as industry partners and players, 10, 15 years down the future? So with that, I'm going to introduce a little bit, but I'll let them each introduce themselves and then tell us a little bit about their company, what it does, and what you're facing now in terms of the challenges and opportunities with all these technologies. So first we have Elizabeth Hemeke from One Inc. She's the CIO there, has a long and colorful history in the payments industry. I'll let her speak a little bit for herself, and then we'll get on to Yogs. Nobody gave me easy names for this panel, so...
Yogs is good.
Jayaprakasan and Ravi Venkatesan, one from Deluxe and one from Cantaloupe. So let them each introduce themselves and talk a little bit. So go ahead.
Okay, great, thanks. It's super to be here. Elizabeth Hemeke. I am from One Inc. I've been there for about 2 years, and we are a payments company dedicated to the insurance industry, and our mission in life is to help the insurance industry on its digital transformation journey in the payment space and getting them to move from checks to those more digital payment types.
I'm Yogs Jayaprakasam, Chief Technology and Digital Officer at Deluxe. Deluxe is a 108-year company. It started off as a check printing company, and we are on our journey to becoming digital payments and data company. I would say we are on a very good trajectory to not become, I think you were saying, Elizabeth, not become the blockbuster and truly turning into Netflix. So that's our role, and we are very excited to be here because it's not just a one company mission. A lot of the companies are going through this transformation. It's important for us to share our experience, but also hear other experiences from this panel as well.
I am Ravi Venkatesan. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Cantaloupe, and we are the market leader in North America for self-service commerce. So anything from vending, laundromats, any kiosk-based mini marketplaces where you can, grab a product and scan, pay, and go. All those experiences are usually powered by us. We have a network of over 1 million storefronts, and so very large scale at what we do. I'm super excited about being on this panel and talking about the payments landscape. It's it's one of those unique times where I think there's a lot of disruption on the horizon, and so it'll be cool to talk about it and get perspectives. And I also want to thank the organizers for these nice, comfy seats. Usually every panel I'm on, I don't know who came up with the idea that panelists should sit on bar stools, but every panel I go to seem to have bar stools, so with one leg not quite balanced. So this is, I appreciate this, and so back to you, Rich.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bar stools with no bar. It's the worst combination. All right, so like I said, what I like to do is, obviously this is a big topic. We can go lots of places with it, and we want to talk about, what it means for us to get to a cashless, contactless type of society. But I find that sometimes if you talk too much at the high level without being grounded in reality first, then the discussion just becomes too philosophical. So I want to start with each of you and just make it personal in terms of your corporation. What are you seeing, with these technologies we talked about, all the ones, all the various payment technologies that are available today? Which ones do you see, that you're adopting already? Which ones are you considering? What's preventing, what are some of the barriers that you have to cross? And just in general, how are these technologies affecting your organization? Because you're each in different businesses. I mean, Elizabeth, you're, in the insurance payment industry, which you had to educate me on. I didn't even realize we needed payment processing for the insurance industry, but you helped me understand that. And Yogs, coming from the check writing, moving to this is a big pivot. And then in Cantaloupe, just moving, from just a pure hardware play to a more integrated SaaS play. So each of you have some story to tell, and I'd like the audience to hear about that first, and then we'll raise up to the sort of the higher level and talk about the impact at the at the philosophical level. All right, so why don't you start, Elizabeth?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So I think it's important to understand, in this education around the insurance industry, we handle inbound premium payments. So if consumers are making their payment to their insurance company, we handle that. And then we do handle all the outbound claims payments to vendors, potentially consumers, multi-party, that sort of thing. And we really want to meet our customer, the consumer or the vendor, where they are. So we want to make every possible payment method that they would want to use available to them. That's our big value proposition. Now, what we're doing to disrupt the insurance industry in the payment space is really kind of moving the needle from check to the more digital forms. So ACH, real-time payments, virtual credit cards is a huge value add from a business perspective. And so when you think about why you would need to have a claim, your car's damaged, your house has been destroyed. Getting a check in the mail is slow, and you may not even have a mailbox. And so what we want to do is, as soon as we are notified that someone needs money because they've experienced some type of a loss, we want to get that money in your hand so that you can use it immediately. So a virtual card that you can put in your digital wallet gives you immediate access to funds without having to wait. And even ACH is still, 1 to 3 days, and if there's a holiday on Monday, it could be as many as 5. Real-time payments is a capability that we've developed, and we're very excited to see that launched in the next few months, and that's going to make it even faster. But virtual cards, I think, are really exciting, and I think it eliminates some of the concern that consumers have about giving away their bank account information in order to set up ACH or RTP. Is you don't have to give us anything except your email address, and we can email you the virtual card, and then you can use it immediately. And it's also great for vendors because they're trying to manage inventory. And I don't know if you knew this, but Collision Auto, as an example, won't release your car until they get paid. So they may keep your car for 10 days, but the repairs were done in 2, but it took that long for the check to get to them. So there's great benefit to you as a consumer to have them get paid faster as well.
So following up on that, where do you see that sounds like the advantages of this technology. Where do you see the barriers? Are you finding it more resistance to migration from the insurance providers themselves or from the consumers or both?
Well, I think it's, technology gets adopted at different rates. If you've seen the charts, how long it took Netflix to hit 1 million users, it was however many months or years, and then ChatGPT was 5 days. So I think mobile wallet has been around for a while. Contactless payments are still, we're still getting there. I was really excited when I got my American Express finally, and it was contactless. And by 2025, 81% of cards are supposed to be contactless. So that's going to really help accelerate, that technology. But I think we got to meet people where they are, but we need to be ready for them when they come. I think one of the interesting sort of human behavior aspects is adjusters that are, going out and assessing what the damage is. They were, when we first started to really work heavily with them, they were defaulting to check every time. So we really had to do some education. We had to make the other options more accessible and more interesting, and also, just continue to educate the insurance companies about the benefits of those other payment methods as well. So there's some barriers probably on the consumer side, but I think that's really accelerating, which is going to help drag the rest of the industry forward.
Right. And your revenue model is such that you're compensated by the insurance providers, or
we make our money on the payments.
on the payments themselves? Okay,
Yep.
even better. Okay, good. All right, Yogs, talk about, again, let's take it down first. What's going on at Deluxe? It's been around for a long time.
Yes.
I used to, get those checks all the time. And you're in the midst of this migration. How are you handling this? How are you getting from one to the other?
Yeah, I think when you think about Deluxe, especially when I took the job, when I mentioned about the company, some of my friends would go, "Oh, Deluxe, I heard it, I have seen it." Where? My dad used to carry this checkbook, and that's where I had seen it. So I think the way we look at what we did in the past and what we are doing now, you can actually apply the lens of how printing check is a manufacturing process, and we can efficiently use the printing machine and start to add additional business envelope and all of those things. That is how you capture the adjacency of the market, and that's what we have been doing for quite some time. But today what we are doing is, if you look deeply, check is another form of payment. And actually, that is the original form of payment that included more convenience for the customer, the fraud protection, and all of those things. So if you extract that, we were also doing the other side of check, which is scanning the check that you write to anybody. So understanding what is there in the check, the instrument of who is paying, who it is getting paid to, understanding the complexity of how to move money between banks to bank, all of that serves as the base for for us to become a digital payment company. So looking at it from the capability standpoint, we just looked at what are the things we already known for, really good at. How do we scale that from platform and technology standpoint, including some of the acquisitions that we had done? Second, when you look at the customers that we serve, we used to serve check directly to end B2C customers. You can come onto our website, you can order check, or you can go to your bank and bank actually orders check from us. So working with all these banks and end customers, when it comes to exchanging data, even on the check side, our customers want us to be compliant. Protect their security, trust model, the way we have to protect the data from cybersecurity, all of that same trust is why they continue to do business with us. So reapplying all of that in the digital space is not a big thing, except that you have to apply technology to solve the same problem differently. So we looked into the customer base, we looked into the capabilities we already have, and also looking into the employee side as well. Wherever we can tap into, because major part of any transformation is your employees, right? You can quickly go catch on to the new technology, but if you are not able to retrain and upskill your employees to come along with the journey, you're not going to get there. So focusing on that, injecting some new talent, but also reskilling our talent, those three things actually gave us the basis and the right to win in the digital payment model as well. So if you look at our revenue base now, roughly about 45% of our revenue comes from our modern digital payments and data business. The rest continues to come from the check and the print business. So we leverage the profit we make on the check and print business to continue to invest on the payments. So we act as our own venture capital, for lack of a better term, to continue to drive growth, but also key focus is to serve the customers really, really well. To borrowing Elizabeth's comment, you just go meet your customer where they want you to meet. If they want you to deliver check, deliver check. If it is e-check, deliver that. Or if it is electronic payment, get there as well.
Okay, yeah, you actually stole my next question, which was to you, which was, I thought it was very intriguing what you told me when we talked, how you're funding your own investment in this transformation by looking for ways to optimize the check printing process and the check, cashing process so that you can pull some extra money out of there to put into the new technologies. That's very innovative. Most people just go around complaining that you don't have enough money, but you're actually going and solving that problem in a very creative way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the technologies, when you talk about some of the digital technologies that you are taking advantage of, you plan to, where are you on that continuum? You're doing real-time payments yet, or you're doing just e-checks? Where are you on that?
I think we are doing a lot of electronic payment, including card acceptance on the merchant side, Google Pay, Apple Pay.
Okay.
Digitizing even our own check. We disrupted our own business by introducing e-check. All of that is continuing to emerge and evolve. But from technology standpoint, my commitment to the company is any product that company wants to experiment with the customer, we want to be able to do it faster. So we are taking what we call a platform-centric approach to our capability development. So simply the principle that we laid out is what I call C2 DSP. It's composable, cloud-native, data-driven, secure platform. The idea is any component you build for e-check or any component you build for receivable automation, today you are solving it for that need. Tomorrow you might want to solve the different need in the payment domain. How can you just recompose it, think of it like a Lego, and be able to deliver and solve different problem for the same customer or even adjacent customer as well. So from technology standpoint, we are heavily focused on that. But also look at all the horizontal functions inside the company, the way we sell, retrain the customers on the sales side, marketing side, servicing, call center. We look into the lens of the technology to see how is the job getting done today, then how can you rethink it with the emergence of generative AI and various other things. So that's our approach. So we stay laser focused on optimizing the way we do things, but also focused on how to do things better for our end customers as well.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Ravi, on to you there. Again, you told us a little bit about Cantaloupe, but tell us a little bit more sort of how it got to where it is, and again, what technologies are you taking advantage of today, where are you going, and what barriers do you see to getting there?
Yeah, just a little bit to double click into Cantaloupe's business. What we do is we go to market as a software and payments company, and both elements are there. And there is also an element of hardware and devices. So what we do is we put our devices, telematics devices, in any unattended environment. So think about laundromats, car washes, vending, parking, little bistros where there's a kiosk and you can buy on that. And in all those cases, we monitor the transactions. So think of it as an IoT play where we are getting real-time telemetry into customers buying products or services. And then we also make sure that those environments are up and running, they're healthy, etc. And we process the payments as they flow through our network. So it's multiple pieces that go into play here. We also have enterprise software as a service offerings that our customers use to not just manage the payments and the transaction aspect of their business, but also inventory, accounting, reconciliation, scheduling for people to go out and do restocking, and many other functions. So it's kind of like a vertical specific ERP for self-service businesses, all the types of businesses I talked about. When it comes to payments, what we've seen is a very significant shift from really bills and coins, which used to be the norm in all these verticals, right? Think about laundry, think about vending machines, all these places, golf ball dispensers I was talking about. That's where the company actually started, believe it or not. So all these verticals used to be very heavily bills and coins, and we've now transformed them with acceptance of digital payments, starting with just straightforward credit, debit card, etc., but then moving on to mobile payment, wallet-based payment with Apple Pay, Google Pay, and so on. And now with real-time payments, right? Zelle, Venmo, loyalty cards, all kinds of newer ways of making those payments, and that disruption continues. We've got digital campus cards that have come in. We've got employee badges that are being used for payments. We've got facial recognition that's now being used for payments. And as the next generation, there is also with FedNow and with other things, and we'll go into that in more detail later in the panel. But the disruption and the transformation of the broader payment landscape continues, and we try to be, if not on the bleeding edge, pretty close to the bleeding edge, right? And as I like to tell my teams, we try to not be the pioneers, but the settlers for obvious reasons. We avoid the arrows, but we kind of get the land.
Yeah, exactly. Now, interesting about your business, and it's similar to others we see. You're kind of merging hardware, payment processing, and SaaS software all together. Where do you see? Where's your emphasis going forward? I mean, those are all three important things. We need all three of them. Is there one area that has more value and more opportunity for you than the others?
Absolutely. And, the way we look at it is that hardware and devices, while they are very important and they're very strategic, they're also getting more and more commoditized. So we've moved to a model where we work with a number of partners to build out payment devices and telematics devices, in addition to designing them ourselves. So we do a lot of that ourselves, but what we've done is we've shifted the focus of our innovation from being on devices and hardware and even kiosks to being on the software that runs on them. So, and that software has many different elements to it. There is software that runs on devices that we deploy out in the field, and there's software that runs on a cloud that makes everything happen. And then there is other kind of enterprise software that our customers use. So our focus for innovation has shifted much more heavily to the software side than the hardware side. Mm-hmm. And also from just payments processing to software making all that happen as well, because even payments is now moved to, frankly, more API driven and cloud software driven than it used to be with traditional kind of switching networks.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives us all a little grounding in what you're doing today, what challenges you're facing. Now let's kind of do a little crystal balling here and look forward in the future. One of the topics that's been talked about this day and this week has been about the impact of AI. Ask all three of you, but whoever wants to chime in, how do you see the generative AI and other types of AI affecting your business in the future? Whoever wants to take that.
So we have a vendor network of 660,000 vendors. And in order we can't call all of them and explain how virtual cards and ACH works. So we've started to implement our business intelligence team has implemented some AI and ML to be more predictive of which vendors would be most likely to accept converting from check to a digital payment form. And that's been incredibly successful. We've got about a 64%, last time I checked, success rate in converting them off of checks and moving them to ACH or virtual cards. So that's been really successful, and that's just a little way that we're using that type of technology to be really targeted and try to, again, transform the industry.
Right. Very good.
From Delec's perspective, we look at any technology more as an utility in your arsenal, but the problems that you have to solve is what we are laser focused on. So when you think about that, mostly you have your internal customers, that's all of your employees, sales team, marketing, developers, customer support, onboarding teams. Now, how could you apply technology like generative AI to solve? That is the safer place for you to start, because you're bringing in an unknown technology. You can apply it before you start to apply it on your customer-facing area. But also we are focused on going back to our basics, because the compliance review, risk review, and all of those things are not going to change. Rather, you probably have to retrain all of them also to see how do you look at anomalies in your data. If you are using AI, explainability of AI is getting better with generative AI. So you should be able to explain it, your decisions better. But for any company to leverage any of those emerging technologies, you also have to go back to cleaning your data. your base data, data governance, all of those things are important too. So we are focused on experimenting new technology, but for the known problems that we already prioritized for the company, and then starting to go back to our foundation to retrain our internal customers as well. But then parallelly, we always have been applying machine learning and AI for our external customers. So when you look at our receivable automation product, a lot of the reconciliation process that we do is extremely complex. The exception that we manage between one bank to another, you can't do it just by applying traditional technology.
Right.
So we continue to focus on the technology we already apply, and now as we have more generative AI and other solutions, we have three principles when it comes to adopting those technology, right? One is you have to first start with experimentation, so you don't jump the guns to the end customer. Two is you're really focused on trust and the privacy of the customer's data. Three is that you're actually testing it inside before you unleash it on your customers as well.
Yeah.
But for all of this to really work, it also comes back to your costing model too. You can't keep spending more money on new technology unless you are very clear on the outcome that you are going to generate too. So that is always our center focus from a technology standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing that, I didn't really introduce relevance, but, we're a software engineering company. We help big companies build their payment technology solutions, and we're seeing a lot of application of AI, initially sort of in the chatbot and electronic communication, but now more, what you were pointing to, Rex, is in the sort of autonomous operations, being able to, detect fraud, reconcile automatically without getting armies of people involved. So it sounds like you're already on top of that, which is great. And then Ravi, what do you think?
Yeah, I know you didn't, not necessary for everybody to jump in on all questions, but it's hard not to talk about AI. I don't think I've been to a panel in the last 6 months where AI doesn't come up or become a key topic here. And also wrote an article, which if anybody's interested in diving deeper on whether it's hype or game changer around ChatGPT specifically. But here's what's going on. I around the March timeframe, I remember pulling all our leadership team together and just telling everybody, we better pay attention. This is very disruptive. This is a game changer. It's not just yet another technology. And we need to figure out our posture. We need to figure out how we are adopting it, how we're going to use it within the company, right? So there's an answer to how it impacts our products and our services externally, and how it impacts our company internally in terms of business processes, making them more efficient, more effective, etc. So then I have people coming slowly out and saying, oh, you know what? I already have these, 20 engineers over here, and turns out they're using ChatGPT to write code. And then you got the marketing teams like, these couple of people, the last couple of months, they've really been using ChatGPT to write all this content. And this campaign that was done over here was all done using it. And then I have people saying, you know what, the legal department was really busy, so I used ChatGPT to write this partner agreement. But I did send it to them and they did approve it. And so long story short, what I found was genie's out of the bottle. People are using it and people are adopting it, and it's all over the place. Now, with some of the price walls that have now been erected versus the early days, I think it remains to be seen if the organic grassroots adoption continues at that pace or slows down a little bit. But where we've shifted to is, okay, this is going to make a difference in customer service. It's going to make a difference in accounting. It's going to make a difference in legal, marketing, everywhere, right? It's not just technology. And what we need to do is have a policy in place and the guardrails in place in a manner where we don't kill that innovation, but at the same time, it's not the wild, wild, wild west, which it'll be if left completely unchecked, right? So we're trying to funnel and channel that innovation, if you will.
Good. Okay, so let's do some hypothesizing here. So, we're all talking about moving to a cashless society, potentially a contactless, a credit cardless society, and yet, last time I checked, there's like $1.7 trillion of bills and coins still out in circulation. And credit cards are still used for the vast majority of a lot of consumer transactions. So, fast forward us for 15, 20 years, do you think we're still going to be like that, or what's going to change and what's going to drive people to stop having cash. I remember during COVID, it sort of was acceptable. You go into a coffee shop and they're like, no cash allowed, which, given the spread of disease, it sort of made sense. But then they stuck with that. They just kind of said, no cash. We're done with cash. Do you see this happening? And what's, 15, 20 years down the line, where are we going to be? Whoever wants to go.
I'll just start. We've been talking for decades about checks going away, and they're still here. And I think a long time ago, there was talk about the penny, like getting rid of the penny. And I'm pretty sure we still have pennies. I don't think cash is going to go anywhere anytime soon. I would certainly hate it for my grandchildren to not know what it feels like to have dollars. But I do think that the adoption of the acceleration of contactless payments, mobile wallets, is going to help get rid of cash. And kind of the use case for me personally is tips. Tipping is still really hard to do if you don't have cash.
Yeah.
And I've started asking anyone, I won't valet my car if I don't have cash. And so now I've started asking the valet, do you have Cash App or Venmo? And they all say, oh yeah. And they whip out their phone, they show the QR code, and you tip bigger. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
You tip bigger when it's fake money versus real money. I find. So I think I'm gonna be very excited. Just from trying to create an even more frictionless way to not use cash, using the mobile wallet and contactless kind of capabilities, QR codes, et cetera. But I'd like to just be able to tap my phone and not have to even open the QR code. So I'm hoping that somebody is working on that. Mm-hmm. But I think cash is going to be around for a long time. But I also think that the consumer and the businesses that we work with are really wanting immediate payment, so that they can manage their business, the way they need to.
Yeah. Okay. But you.
So when I worked for American Express before coming to Deluxe, for the longest time we talked about credit card is going to disappear. And then when I come here, check is going to disappear. I believe strongly that we cannot predict when something is going to disappear. But what I do believe is three things. One, the customers will decide when something should disappear. But also customers will continue to adopt things that are going to be extremely convenient and frictionless for them. So as long as business, we put our focus on where customer wants us to go, and are we adapting technology to make it frictionless for them? That I think is my first bet. Timing could be different, but that is going to continue to evolve. Number two is, as fast as the innovation occurs, for all the companies that invested heavily in technology and technical debt, old systems, we still are running mainframes in our back office and everything. So that is going to continue to exist. It's not going to disappear. So for technologists, it is figuring out ways to motivate your team to evolve those systems to catch up to that innovation. So we can apply some, what we call facades to enable frictionless experience to the end customer. But the heavy burden for the business is going to be on, your cost is still sitting on your old systems, and you are not going to be able to innovate faster. Even when you talk about real-time payment, the speed in which banks are able to get out of their legacy systems, that will be your barrier to entry and adoption and things like that. So focusing on that, as a business, how can I continue to optimize my legacy systems? So I have cash to reinvest in the right area. That is going to be two. Three, I believe as things become more and more embedded and invisible, the regulatory pressure is going to build up even more.
Yeah.
Because when you see something, it is easy to believe and trust. When you cannot see something, it's very hard for you to figure out what is happening behind the scenes. So building the transparency, understanding that regulatory needs, and continuing to evolve that. So I would put my bet on those three things. Timing, customers will decide, various events will decide. But as business, can I continue to focus on, can I understand my customer, where they want us to be? How am I going to continue to evolve my systems that are several years old? And how soon can I catch up to the regulatory pressure that is going to build up as well?
Okay. Yeah, I remember when we talked, you mentioned that convenience and comfort will win out over concerns that people have. And I wrote that down, and it's going to be my...
Yeah, I mean, initially all of us used to be paranoid about sharing our information on social media. Now nobody reads the terms and conditions. Anytime anybody wants us to share, we just single click and share the data.
Yeah.
We don't really know how the data gets used and all of those things. So that will happen. But the government will also come after us for every company to figure out how did we use that data? Are we using it in the appropriate way? So business has totally different responsibility than the end customer.
Right.
But we all have to work hard to make it easy for the end customers.
All right. Ravi, you get the last word here. The future, you may already be in a cashless society. Do your vending machines even take cash anymore?
Less and less. So I'll give you some numbers there. And there's a report on our website, cantaloupe.com, which is called the Micropayment Trends Report. It came out, I think, just a month back or a couple of months back. And some of the numbers I'm sharing with you are in that report. So for those of you who are interested in getting more details. But in just the last 2 years, we've seen on our networks, cashless payments go from being in the 30-40% range to now the 70% range. So it's a drastic shift to using less cash on our storefronts, right? For unattended storefronts. We've also seen contactless payments go from the 10 to 15% range to now the 30 to 40% range. So that's almost a bigger shift. Apple Pay, Google Pay have had the biggest gains, but so have other forms of contactless payment, including just tapping. One of the funniest things I find is before the pandemic, people did not know that their credit cards could tap and pay. And then after the pandemic, everybody knows it, right? So it's one of those really, really, head scratchers, but people just didn't know, right?
Right.
That's happened. There is a fraud angle to it where those digital payments are more secure, and that is starting to make a difference. So that's on just the very narrow what's happening with cashless and what's happening with contactless. But if you take a big step back and say, let me do some forest for the trees here, and what's the future of money, which is really what we're talking about here.
Yep.
Then whenever I look at the future of something, I always look at the history, right, and the past. Where has it been? And if you dial the clock all the way back to, really it's exchange of value, right? How do we manage the exchange of value? And we've come a long way since we were trading goats for bananas, right? That's it was a barter system. And then the first way we got out of it was really coins. And in coins, it was all about how much precious metal was there, right? Bronze or silver or gold. And literally it used to be determined based on that. The value of the coin was based on the amount of precious metal. And then you came to, currency. Currency is actually a relatively new phenomenon. We think it's, we're talking about checks. Checks are actually, adolescents right now, if you think about the history of money, right? So then you come right down to, okay, where is the future? It is digital, but all these older forms are not going away. And I think what you'll see is more and more real-time payments pick up, but all the historical, like credit cards, checks, etc., continue to sort of be on there.
Yeah. Not quite there yet. All right. I think we're out of time, right, Will? We do have some time for questions. Good. Okay. Questions for the panel here? You're all sound asleep. That's good. I just have one question for you then, if no one else. What did you see? We all lived through COVID. I think were you all in the same roles during COVID? I'm not sure, but how did that impact you, and how did you respond to that? As a business, not personally, but as a business.
I was not in this role at the time, but the stories I heard from my colleagues, my payment heads is sitting here, Mike Reed, is that as a company, especially going through the transformation, we did not have all the digital way of working virtually. Just before COVID, I think we got all of those put in place. So the company was able to immediately shift to virtual working and continue to drive through the transformation. That I think COVID also helped and also hindered in a way that our speed of transformation slowed during that time. But also because of that, the digital payment accelerated in the industry. That opened up a lot of opportunity as well. But I also witnessed in my previous role how COVID caused a complete travel disruption, and our especially B2B travel went to grounds in just one quarter.
Yeah.
And then we had to prepare our systems anticipating that after COVID, the travel is going to come back, and it paid off really well. So I think in every disaster, as the saying goes, that never let a crisis go for waste. I think a lot of companies that recognize that, they won big. The companies that did not, unfortunately, don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. Did you have a question? Oh, look at this, coming up to the mic and everything. All right, you're going to wake us up. Okay.
Okay, so I think it was Ravi was talking about all the biometrics and things like that. And then Yogs was talking about consumer or adoption. I think, actually, the three things. And the consumers have to want something. They're going to drive behavior. But looking at how long it took for contactless and mobile wallets to be accepted, and I'm seeing all kinds of biometric things. I was at Whole Foods the other day, and they wanted me to register my palm. Like, I think if we have all these different choices and it's disparate, it's just going to take longer and longer for adoption. Do you see anything out there looking at standardizing, or what's your take on that? Or what do you think we should do?
I think as a technologist, the way I think is, as I said, we cannot anticipate consumer behavior or the events like COVID. Nobody would have anticipated that. One classic example I'll give is in my previous work, we were preparing for recession. So we built like a lot of risk models to figure out if recession were to happen, how are we going to recover? What does our model looks like? We did not anticipate COVID, but a lot of the procedure we created helped us a lot. So even I apply the same pattern in technology as well. So I may not be able to figure out, my peers may not be able to figure out exactly what is going to happen in business. But in technology, if you created APIs or easier way of integrating with various things, it allows you to partner with the different parties to solve for your customers' emerging need. So that's how I would like to think it. Yes, you want to be paranoid to some extent. You can't live in fear all the time. But at the same time, how do you apply that paranoia into developing patterns that allows us to create playbooks and you can apply it in any difficult situations?
Yeah, I think my perspective is, and again, it goes back to the consumers are going to drive the adoption. So if you think way back to laser discs, remember that very short?
I'm too young to remember.
There was a fight over the media, how we were going to deliver, video content, and consumers won, and those things died out. I think we're going to see, the same pattern continue to emerge, and consumers are going to drive that change.
So they'll force the consolidation.
They'll force the consolidation, and look at electric cars and all the manufacturers who have now adopted Tesla's standard.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Consumers are making, I think consumers are behind those kinds of choices. Everybody's probably knows people that are in global standards. I've got a friend that wrote the global standard for barcodes, and she's working on the next iteration of that. So, but a lot of it is driven by consumer buying behavior, consumer choice. So I agree. I think the consumers are going to continue to drive that consolidation.
Okay, Ravi, did you say?
Yeah, unfortunately, I got a different perspective. I think it's going to be a hot mess for a couple of years. And the reason it's going to be a mess is politics, not so much technology. If you look at what's happening with Fed now, the adoption, the number of banks and the financial institutions that are participating is very fragmented. If you look at biometric recognition, I have a solution that'll get 99.99% confidence level facial recognition and tell you how old somebody is. And we'd love to use it in dispensing adult drinks and other restricted products. But we can't do it in the US. We can do it in several other countries, but not here. California now wants to get rid of all plastic cards in the next 1 year. And guess how that's going to happen? So there's just the political will around real-time payments, around all these things is kind of lacking in this country. And that's why we've fallen behind even countries like India and China and several other places where RTP adoption has been much faster. So the Credit Card Competitiveness Act is, I think, again, ill-informed, ill-motivated. But anyway, you're always told not to talk politics on a panel like this, but I couldn't resist it at the end of it.
All right. Well, on that, Will, I think we're out of time, right? So please a round of applause for our panelists here today.
Thank you.